posture descriptors, what we know and the gaps in the research. So accounting for posture is essential in a well-fitted garment that meets the needs of the individual wearer. These nuances are recognized by pattern makers. Posture variations, it affects the suspension points of the garment. And your garments hang on your body from your shoulders, from your waist. And so it's very important that all of this information gets brought in appropriately to get a garment that actually fits that person. PARCS basically send placement, alignment, rotation, curvature, and symmetry. Basically placement, symmetry, alignment, and then also rotation. And then curvature is it's important because it also influences how the clothing interacts with the body. And so this can be very different depending on somebody's posture. Kind of PARCS preparation, you have to know what pose is desired, and you can use it for mimicking the positioning required for different sports. And then the evaluation of fit. There's the posture within the pose, and what we mean by that. So an A pose by a grandma is going to be different than an A pose by a toddler. It's going to be different than an A pose by somebody who's very fit. It's still an A pose, but how they implement it depends on who they are. And so that's the key difference. And the landmarks can be utilized to set up the framework, and then placement, like I said, you had the ideal versus the actual. So symmetry is has been researched quite a bit. People are generally symmetrical beings, but not always. And 25% have quantifiable asymmetry, and 2 to 3% of the population has scoliosis. Hip tilt and this impacts the fit of trousers and underwear. It also impacts the shape orientation of the crotch curve. And you also have lifetime changes. This is an example of a hip tilt, just to clarify what that means. What we found was that the dress forms tend to have a very erect posture, but that's not necessarily how people are, but it's how the dress forms are. So if you make things perfect to a dress form, you probably aren't making them perfect to the actual customer. Curvature, like I said, is a result of all the different changes, and then the avatar using synthetic humanoids, i.e. I have a phone app perhaps, and all I've done is modified the circumferences, but I've kept that actual internal avatar that has a very erect posture. If you have not picked up the posture of that person, you don't have the correct data. So one of the tests we did in a different study was we took 4 different phone apps, and you couldn't tell they were the same body because all of the curves were very different. That body scanning rarely captures the crotch area. It's generally constructed with information, and actually, if we can really work on the crotch curves would be very important. So current technologies tend to normalize the body, removing asymmetries and postural anomalies. Please don't. Okay, that's a request. The traditional pattern drafting methods assume symmetry. Can we go beyond that and actually say, how do you address that? To improve it, both 3D body scanning and pattern making technology must evolve to include PARCS. PARCS is our descriptors, so that we have a way to describe what we're seeing, so that the stuff that's intuitive to pattern makers can be explained to the rest of the world.